Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hopefully you are doing well. Thank you so much for coming on by. It is a pleasure to be with you. I'm waiting for that start screen to pass away here. Okay, there we go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for stopping by. Always appreciate it. Today's kind of an interesting day because today we get to talk about one of the solutions that we're probably going to go with when it comes to how we're going to get our primary speaker, our pastor, our minister, to preach anywhere in the United States on any given Sunday morning. And I've been getting a lot of spam text messages recently. And so I've been trying to figure out what that looks like, what sort of solution is out there that would help us achieve that. And, there are options like Starlink, or there are jetpacks that you can use from like mobile providers. But I really wanted to specialize in this. And so we definitely went to NAB with that in mind. That was one of my objectives. And we were able to come up with some good ideas. So, and in other news, my phone won't connect to our Wi-Fi. I've noticed this every once in a while, that sometimes it'll like connect and then drop and then connect and then drop and just do that over and over. And it seems to be a problem with the Netgear devices, which is kind of an issue because you have to log into them in order to fix it. But it seems to have an issue, a real problem, actually, getting the keeping devices connected. Now, my phone is on a static IP address that's issued from the DHCP list, the white list, which is my preferred method of assigning IP addresses. And so the first thing we could do is just verify that information's correct to see if I can kind of remedy this problem real quick. But the IP address should not be taken by another device on the network because I have obviously reserved that IP address specifically for my phone. Now, that may not be what's going on here, and there's, and there may be a chance that I haven't actually given my phone a reserved IP, but I will verify that. John's phone, yep. So I should not be having any issues kind of connecting to the network. So the next thing that we need to probably do is log into the actual Wi-Fi access point and try and force it to clear any sort of cache, maybe even restart that. I'm not on my Wi-Fi here, and so the access points are literally nodes on my network that will allow devices to connect wirelessly. But if I were to restart it, it shouldn't interrupt anything that's going on here because I'm hardlined, and we talked about that a fair bit in the past, how it is that I was able to figure that out. I do need to check in here on the chat. Hey, what's going on, Randy? Good morning. Good morning from Canada. And Angus, also Canadian, checking in, I think out in Edmonton, right? So great to see you guys. Thanks for stopping by. Always appreciate you joining in on the fun. All right, so I do have, I'm not going to share the screen necessarily, my behind the scenes access point, because it shows my password and everything. But I am going to go into the device list and try and just clear the cache. One thing I've noticed with this, which isn't normal, this isn't something that I would expect from a halfway decent wireless access point system, is to have to restart it every month to kind of like clean out the gremlins. But I am finding, and I even had to do this with my Google access points, is that I'd have to kind of restart the system once a month, and to kind of keep it from getting bogged down. It's a little strange. It really shouldn't be required. Fascinating about this is that my device is not showing up here. My phone is not showing up as a device on the network. So I'm just going to scan the list real quick and see if it's trying to use a different IP address, which might explain what's going on here. that one is not mine. So I don't see it on the list. So it's not even successfully getting an IP address from an access point. So I am actually going to restart the access point that's up here in my office. And just give me 1 second. Now, like I said before, the access points on my network are just nodes. They're just like units on my network that allow wireless devices to access the greater network. But the network itself, there's no dependencies on the wireless that are like critical functions. And so here I am running my computer, but all of this is hardlined in from upstairs in the bonus room. And the way that I'm doing that is over a couple of little devices that convert Ethernet into coax and back again. And so I'm running that network. I think it's called a Mocha network. I'm running that all the way through the house. And so I can have hard lines to each entertainment system, to my computer system, to the whole network rack that's sitting here that you're kind of looking through actually, and down to obviously to the Starlink router and everything like that. So the Starlink device is not doing any routing. It's only acting as a WAN for my greater network. And then I actually have a dedicated TP-Link router, which I still have a rule: don't buy anything with link in the name, with one exception. I actually do find their routers and their managed switches, the entry-level ones, fairly good for a residential setup. And so I have multiple TP-Link managed switches around my house that are at each of these nodes on the ends of the coax networks. And they basically split out the information and then get it back into the channel for transfer through the house. I got to tell you, like, I stream stuff off of my computers up here downstairs onto my nice 4K TV when we're watching hockey games or we're doing stuff. And it works so well because Wi-Fi, again, I've got pretty good Wi-Fi, but they just don't really add up. And so I can't rely on that, especially in my work environment now where I really need things to be consistent. I need constant upload speeds, and I need good download speeds for the large video files that I work with for work. And so I can't really be like waiting for Wi-Fi to get its act together. I really need that to be a secondary function. And so that's kind of where I've landed after it's almost been a year since we've been in this house. It's kind of where I've landed on, we were able to function wirelessly for the most part, but it's not a critical part of my system. And so if the wireless goes down, everything still works. Angus says, yep, I'm out here in Edmonton. Hey, did you crank up the low end on your RE20? No, I did not. I have not changed anything. So first of all, let me see if my phone is now connected to my Wi-Fi. It doesn't appear to have connected to my Wi-Fi yet. But I will listen in. Yoink. Now that this access point's been restarted, hey, it connected right away. Okay, so good news there. Let me open my and my soundboard, obviously, if something has changed. Channel configuration. Nope, the EQ is flat there. I'm just going to look. It looks like my preamp is still set the same. Nothing has really changed. So let me go into my account and just take a look at my show. This one is live. And let me just listen for a second. Looks like my preamp is still set the same. The low end is I can feel it off my phone, so it is a little more significant than I think we're used to. Now, I wonder if something has changed in vMix, because nope, nothing has changed in vMix. That is very interesting. That's an interesting comment that you make. Just because I think it's just as you move around. I know the RE20 isn't supposed to have a pronounced proximity effect, but when you get close to it, it goes nuts. Yeah, it's definitely not supposed to have a proximity effect. I mean, it's a full reject, right? So That's very interesting. Maybe no. Like even the input isn't very high. It actually should be higher, be honest with you. And then I should turn it down here in vMix. Let's try that real quick. Hang on. Okay, hang on one second. Let me adjust things here. Check 1, 2. Yeah, okay. So it's showing up a little better there. Now I need to listen to it. It's probably going to make that proximity effect even worse. Yep. It's still a little hot, like when I'm close, so I'll back it down a little bit. And quite honestly, what am I at here? Okay, so let's try this. Yeah, whoa. Okay. Hang on one second. So what I'm doing is I'm going to pull back. I've got proper pre-gain on the channel. There is also a slight chance that a child has come in here and saw all the fun lights and knobs and done something while I wasn't paying attention. So there's that. Okay. I've dialed the gain way back on the output of my preamp so that I have enough coming in to the preamp on the front end, but then on the back end I was outputting probably 20 decibels more than I needed to, so I dialed that back. Let me know how that sounds. I'm watching this on my TV in my living room, which is fairly well balanced, but I run a decent sub and pretty big tower speakers. If anything, turn your levels up and move back a bit. That will help even out tiny head movements. When you're super close and running lower gain, tiny head movements are really amplified. Yes, that would make sense the way that goes. Again, I've pulled it back a fair bit here, although it seems like the master in vMix has additional gain on here somewhere. Oh, right here. Okay, found it. All right, so I'm just listening as well on the phone just to see how it sounds. I have it set up this way though, where I've got to be up on it in order to be clearly heard, mostly to eliminate any sort of like sounds and background noises. I've also noticed that here we're approaching summer in Tennessee, and my computer, the switches, the 4250, mind you, has been kicking into like a high fan mode. Like it's getting hot up here. And I have my smart house automated to turn on the air conditioning when this room reaches plus 80 on my thermostat. And so I have this is a little Z-Wave, actually it's a Zigbee thermostat that I put above my computer. Whoops. And so so when that thing reaches 80 degrees, which is above all the heat, right, then it kicks off and turns my air conditioning on, and it'll shut it off as well. But being further away from the microphone will also help with the excessive proximity effect. Well, I could back way off. Let's see here. Could back this off and try and give you a few more decibels this way. So, all right, let's see how this I almost said, let's see how this hears. All right, hang on now. Just give me a second. I'll just mute this so I can listen to this. Okay. Not too bad. I mean, it's a lot of volume going. I'm not pushing it I haven't pushed it very hard. Yeah, back it up and turn it up. That's what I just did. So let me know how it goes. You'll have to bear with me for a little while. All right. Also, today's non-sponsor, just a little reminder, is again Ember Mugs. Two sponsors today, actually. Ember Mugs, non-sponsors, is keep your coffee hot and your creamer curdled with help from Ember Mugs. This has been around for a long time, and thank you, Jeremy, who was with me last week live, where we talked about all sorts of stuff, but mostly Resi, and how they can help communities, churches, groups, anybody kind of be consistent with getting their live stream up and being resilient in doing that. And so it was a really fascinating conversation, and we only got about like 1/3 of the way through. So we're going to have another chat sometime in the future. Maybe in a couple months we can have him back. So Ember Mugs, him and I were using Ember Mugs, and last week, I think, I also was drinking on the show Shock Coffee, which apparently has a lot more caffeine in it, like 50% more, although it doesn't actually say that on the package. So it said it on the Amazon site that I bought it from, but we'll see. So at the end of the last show where I was drinking that, I was talking really fast. So here's another cup of it. We'll see how that goes. But pretty good. I mean, it's not... I probably wouldn't like subscribe to this coffee coming every 6 months, but it was worth a shot, and yeah, kind of like it. So the first few seconds do seem better. First few seconds. Okay. Great. Well, let's move along here then. My phone is now connected to the network, so I'm going to refresh this page and just see if it showed up at the IP address that I expected it to. I'm sure it did. If I click on this, advanced, no, not advanced, click on this one. Yeah, I think it was this access point basically not connecting the device to the network. So is it here? No, it's not. What IP address do we think we have? We can find that out real simple. Yoink, fixed address. That's not the address I thought you were going to have. So if we go here, is that a reserved? No, it's not. Interesting. All right. So you know how iPhones can, they can alternate MAC addresses? I think that's what's going on here is I have a reserved on a different MAC address on this phone, but now I've got fixed IP address, and so now I'm gonna have to reserve this one as well. No big deal. We'll only take a moment to do that because the system's pretty good about it. But there we go, reserved. We're gonna label this, and we're gonna edit. We'll say done. I wonder if I'm allowed to have the same name. I am. Okay, cool. All right, so we're finished there with all that. Okay, I'm going to bring you guys over here so I can see if you're chatting. But I want to talk about a solution that we're looking at with Safe Harbor. And the task, the challenge is to have a production acceptable, one that matches, at least looks like it fits into our production, a shot from a remote location that's happening live that we can bring into our video switcher at the soundstage in Brentwood and have a live lesson from a remote location. And of course, people have been doing this for ages, right? Like news reporters and whatever have been doing this forever. And there's got to be a way in 2025 where it's feasible to have a signal coming from a remote site into your production studio and to be able to make it seamless and look correct. Of course, the first test would be something local, like we'd have him in his house or at Dave's house or something, and then we would be broadcasting back to the soundstage. So it might be a little strange to run that test, but we would do this, obviously. You run it in stages, so you would do this test without anybody and no real consequences if it goes wrong. And then you would run a test on a Sunday where he's semi-local, but you could plug in and you could run all of your connections, if you're running this over cellular or you're plugging it into a WAN or something like that. And then you go one step further and you go the next town away, or maybe you come out here to my place, which is about 40 or 50 minutes from the soundstage. We do something out here. And then beyond that, then if you've proven that use case 2 or 3 times, then it's probably safe to say that you could make this happen. So how then can you do this? Now, my first experience with just combining internet sources was when I got into networking many moons ago. This is back in 2016. I took a job that made me basically the network administrator for a small college, now university, in Rochester Hills, Michigan. And I took over the network because the network administrator was moving on. She was going to go do a different job, and I was basically asked if I would take over. And I thought that would be a great challenge. It would look really good on a resume. And I ended up falling in love with it because it ended up being something it's like a giant puzzle. And it was in really rough shape when I took it over, not because of the previous network admin, because we had no money. And so I got into this mode where I tried to figure out how to do the most I could, right? Do the most you could with the least amount of resources, which makes you a very resourceful person if you have to operate like that for 5 or 6 years. And I did that while I worked at this school because money was just not something that we had a lot of. So I got this idea about load balancing and then things like concepts like round robins and things like failovers when I worked for the school, because I found out that our CFO, by the time I left, our CFO was really big on very minimal downtime, because any downtime we had resulted in lost money, which is a concept through business that is even still very healthy today. Is like if you're offline or if your employees aren't working, you're not making any money. And so having power outages was not a choice. And so we had giant diesel generators on campus that would kick on if the power went off in town. It would also actually feed back the network. Occasionally we could make money if we had to run our generators. So that was an interesting concept. But then if the generators kicked on and the network didn't come back, well, what good was it? And so we had to talk about resiliency when it came to internet providers. Our internet service provider, I remember we went from like a 500 up and down service business account to like a 10 gig service by the time I was there. And we were servicing a campus of multiple thousands of students. And so we really did need to have adequate speed, but also then this resilient piece where we needed to have a backup if something went wrong. And so we took a second internet service provider from a group that basically it would kick on if our service provider fell below a certain threshold. And I believe we had AT&T at the time at the school. And so they would throttle us down because we weren't a very big client for them. And even though we had dedicated IP addresses and we had a big campus, it was obvious that we were doing business and probably should have been considered a little bit more serious than we were. They would throttle us down when the traffic got busy or the sun got hot or the air conditioners were, it was just so stupid. So we signed up for a second provider with somebody local. It was an internet service that was local. But basically we would pay for what we used, and otherwise it would remain off. So I found out we had WatchGuard firewalls at the time. I don't even know if they still do or not. We had WatchGuard firewalls that had built-in multi-WANs and gave you the ability to set up things like round robins or load balancing or failovers or whatever. And this idea, this concept of, you could set this up so that your network proactively, like if something happens, it does it for you. And then it was kind of like this little open window to automation can take you to like amazing places. And I was already starting to dabble with that with my smart house, getting into this idea of, I could automate all of this. And so that like itched a scratch in my brain, because I got really interested into, I could do this repetitive task, or I could automate it, and then I could just check on it and monitor things and still get paid to do that repetitive task, but I've enabled it to do it itself, essentially. And I kind of get annoyed. I mean, here's a little something about me is I kind of get a little annoyed when I can't automate something, when I'm tasked with something that has to manually be done every time. And so I'm constantly thinking of what is a way that I could actually automate this so that I'm not regenerating all this work every time, especially if it's like weekly or monthly. So auto reporting. If you're in the ministry world, you know that you have to have a CCLI license, for example, which gives you the rights to use the music at your house of worship. But then you also have to, if you're putting it online or you're showing it live or any of those things, you also have to have additional licensing, CSS licensing, and a few other things. Well, those things you have to go in and report. So there are services out there that will auto report for you. They'll either report out of ProPresenter, or they'll report out of Planning Center, or they'll report out of, various products that will see you using songs, will find their CCLI number, and then will auto report them to Song Select or whatever. Now, CCS or CSS, I can't remember what it's called. Let's go CCLI reporting. This service, get my coffee here while it loads. CCS Worshipcast is one of the services that we use to report our music, which we don't use very much, but report our music to the licensing agencies, which allow us then to use them live and to leave them up as live recordings. We're not playing music. Okay, that's not what this license is. We are reproducing this music with instruments and vocals and all of that. We have somebody that sings, it's my wife, and our pastor who plays guitar. And so we recreate these songs each week, versions of these songs, and we use the licensing through these services to do that. Well, I like to figure out how to auto report. And so we are doing auto reporting for CCLI, for Song Select, saying, here are the songs that we used on Sunday. But then to also have a streaming service, it gets like really complicated. But to have a streaming service that's showing them live and leaving them up in an archive, you have to have a license for that as well. So you got to pay every year, and then you got to report every time you use it. Now, they'll let you do monthly reporting as long as you are sure to keep up with it. And so I have a reminder telling me to go in and double check. The copyright licensing gets auto-reported from Planning Center for me. And so when I put them into Planning Center and I make the songs and they get put on the list, the following Monday, Planning Center tells CCLI, here are the 2 or 3 songs they used on Sunday. The one it doesn't do is CCS yet. And so I need to figure out how to automate that. But it's like, I want to be able to walk away and say, no, I don't want to have to auto-report this every time. I want to check on it. And then, again, one of my jobs is to make sure that the licensing is done correctly. So I have to do that. And if I don't do that, then, we get in trouble. So that's that. I would love to, unfortunately, CCS, which is Worshipcast, that's a different service. They've just combined it with CCLI, and so they haven't automated it yet. Okay. So I really got into home automation, which is, my house is basically completely automated with the exception of one bathroom and one hallway light. I really got into home automation, and in particular, with that, SmartThings was the backbone, but I was using things like Homebridge, and I'm using things like, routines and all that stuff, so that most of it happens on its own. And what's beautiful about it is, as time goes along, you realize what things work and what things don't. And I have a routine that the lights come on before my family gets home, because I'm usually up in my office, not downstairs, and so the house is off and not running. But then when they get home, the house is all dark. No, I want them to come home, and I want it to be welcoming and inviting and ready for people to be in it. So at a certain time of day, sometimes based on the sun, sometimes based just on a timer, the lights all come on. Well, that's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have, I don't have to go around the house and turn on all the light switches I want every day, and then remember to go around and shut them all off. Instead, I just let the house handle that. There are some issues with it, but that's not what this show is about. But to automate things, then, where, for example, your internet service goes out, well, it could switch over to a secondary service, whether you had a Jetpack or maybe you have Starlink Mobile or whatever. it would switch over and just use that data for that time. Now, Starlink Mobile doesn't really have a use what you use or pay for what you use type of scenario. They have more of like you need it this month, you can pay for a month and have it on, and then it shuts off again at the end of the month. That works too, because, I'll talk about how that might work for us in the future. Okay. So I went to NAB with Dave, and one of the questions I wanted answered was, we want to do this from the road, and I need to provide internet, and I need it just to work. I need to know, no, this is going to work because I bought this unit. And I pitched that to a couple of companies. I pitched it to LiveU, and I pitched it to Peplink. LiveU came back and said, oh, yeah, we can guarantee, it obviously based on cell coverage. And it's like, okay, like I got to scout positions and whatever, and that I get. But based on cell coverage, we can pretty much guarantee. People have been doing this for an age. We've got big companies, ESPN, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. They're all using this stuff. Okay, cool. So then we said, all right, what is the price range for something like this? They said, well, to kind of like get out the door, you'd probably just need the entry level stuff. You're probably looking at like 40, 50 grand. And then we were like, and then reoccurring monthlies? And they were like, yeah, like you would pay us. We would provide you with the SIM cards, and then you'd pay us for your monthly usage and whatever. We were like, okay, well, we wrote that. We were at LiveU first, and so we wrote that down. All right, that might be the cost of business. The last day we were there, we went to West Hall, and this was a hall where like VizRT was, and NewTek, formerly known as NewTek. VizRT was there, and we found Peplink. And I wanted to see Peplink because I had already actually known about them from previous shows. Actually, I think you guys kind of tuned me into them. And so I wanted to see their booth and see what it is they had. And we roll up to there, and this guy who was in charge, I mean, there were a couple of guys on the booth. One guy was doing a live show, literally over their stuff in the middle of the hall. And then this other guy was kind of manning the booth. And so he walked up, hey guys, how you doing? What can I help you with? Super friendly. And we got talking about our project, and he was like, yep. He said, this is the other option to things like LiveU, because you can buy our hardware and own it. You can customize it how you want, and then you can tell it how to behave. And by the time you're done, you're just paying for your data usage for like long term. Your units and stuff that you buy, you're not renting it from us. It's not something that's leased. It's a physical purchase, and then there's no additional charges after that. So we really like that idea. And then he said, okay, like if you wanted to go like super high end with the best of the best and the biggest stuff, you're probably looking at $12,000. And we were like, that sounds a lot better than 40, right? Plus, your monthly data usages and whatever, and you want multiple providers, so you would get an AT&T card, a Verizon card, maybe a T-Mobile card, depending on how many slots you have on the unit. And then he said, but for what you guys are doing, like honestly, you'd probably get away with about $7,000. And so Dave, who's the other technician, but also he's the CFO, he really like tuned in like, oh, this is like feasible. This is actually something we could do now. So we started talking about, how does it work? And he was like, how comfortable are you guys with networks? And I was like, I'm good. I'm comfortable with networks. He's like, okay. So he said, you could probably get away with, the big router that we have, which could take multiple cards and multiple WAN lines and make that work. And he said, the customers that Peplink has who are doing 2 mobile networks and a Starlink mobile connection have a 99% success rate. He said it's pretty hard to find a place in the world where that combination of stuff is not going to give you a good enough signal. And I said, and then if we were at like an Airbnb and we could plug in a WAN, he was like, you're rock solid. He's like, it's only better from there. And so I was kind of like intrigued by that because it's less than half the price of a Solo U product, and that's their entry level stuff. It's half the price, and I don't see how it's less resilient. We would buy like the big antenna, and we would buy the big, router, and that might push us to like $8,000 or $9,000. He had like a freight case that was totally done up and had multiple antennas and a big router and everything, and that thing was 12. But it was interesting that the difference. And my goal was, I just want to get to the internet. I'll take care of the video transmission side. I just need to get to the internet. My Live View Solos are both purchased. They're not leased, but they aren't part of the broadcast lineup. Well, I have used the Live Solo U stuff at NAB, actually. In 2019, they lent us a backpack, and we used it for internet, and it worked really well inside a congested, convention hall. But I also was watching them use this Peplink stuff live on the floor. Granted, it was in the hall that wasn't quite as busy, but we aren't going to be in those scenarios where we're broadcasting from the middle of a convention hall, typically. So, there are maybe some options there, now that I think of it. But the interesting thing about this is that it really was less than half the price. And I think, with money aside, that really is kind of like what we're going for. Now, I can show you what it is that we are interested in. So there's something called the the Max BR2 Pro. Let me go here back to vMix real quick. Where are we here? vMix. There you are. Okay. So here is the BR2 Pro. This is the one that we saw. And it gives you the option to have multiple WANs. The unit can run off of PoE, which I was like very fascinated by. Multi-WANs. So you could bring in a WAN into a PoE injector into this thing and power it, which also powers the antenna, by the way. Gives you 4 LAN ports, which I don't think we would need. But if we need to hook up a computer or something, that's available. You don't need an additional switch. It wouldn't provide PoE power to any sort of like cameras. So if we were going to go with like a PoE camera, PTZ or something like that in the remote location, we might need to get another little switch for that. But gives you this option for dual WANs. And then on the back side, where are we here? On the back side, sorry, I'm blazing past a lot of this stuff here. The ports, okay, specs. Let's just go to specs. Technical specs, here we go. We have, I believe, at least 2, if not 4. Yeah, 4 SIM slots. I don't know if they have any eSIMs, but this has spots for 4 different SIMs, which is beyond what like resiliency we're kind of looking for. I think we would be looking at 2 to start. Boy, that text sheet sucks. Okay, here we go. LAN ports, 5, 2 WAN ports. I wouldn't need this. I wouldn't need the VPN necessarily, although that may not be a bad idea. Number of cellular modems, 2. Okay, so maybe it maxes out at 2. I'm not sure. 5G networks, so you'd have to get the appropriate antenna. We can talk about that next. 4 SIM slots, SIM card nanos, that's fine. Antennas, all good. Where's the power? I want to see the power here. Hardware. 30 watts. So this is PoE plus, if anything, right? It said PoE on there. Maybe it's PoE out. No, that can't be right because that was a WAN port. So, yeah, this idea, you could mount this inside like a Pelican case or something and basically have it all self-contained and plug it in and it boots up. It starts booting up. And that's, you could put your antenna on top of your car or whatever. They do say, though, this needs to be near the antenna, which is why people put them in Pelican cases, because the antenna, as you add length onto the antenna cable, it lowers the decibel ratings. And so it's got to be pretty close to whatever antenna you pick. You can't just run a long antenna into the house, but you can run a long Ethernet cable. And so if you're plugging this into a rig that's run inside of like a little freight case that has your cameras, your little soundboard, wireless microphone pack, you can just run an Ethernet cable out of the Pelican case into your rig and leave this in the car or something, you know, power it up somehow. And you could even make that run off the car if you wanted, if the car was running. But it's such an interesting idea because this basically gives you the flexibility to be anywhere in the world and combine sources to make a resilient internet packet transfer system. And I'll explain how we're going to do the video here in a minute, but let me jump over to our chat real quick because I know you guys are talking. Most importantly, they don't offer a bonded network connection for anything but their own usage. Yeah, you're referring to Peplink, or I'm sorry, you're referring to Live Solo U. Peplink really fascinates me. I'd love to see a deep dive on all of their offerings. We have a mix of big boy Peplinks, the Max HD4s, and little boys, the BR1s, as well as a High-Vision, similar to LiveU, which can redistribute the cell signal over a wired or wireless. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry, that didn't mute. I tried to be slick about it, but that didn't mute. Yeah, you have to click it twice when you first do it. I'm going to sneeze again. This time it'll work. Am I going to sneeze? Okay, cough button worked that time. Okay, so back to vMix Social. Each modem supports 2 SIMs, but only one at a time. Only uses one at a time. Peplink also used to have a V Gold mount. Ooh, nice version to stick it right on the back of an ENG camera. Peplink also has one that looks like an antenna, but is all in one router called the Dome, I think. Let's just take a quick glance here. I'll just type in the word Dome. See what comes up on there. The Dome Pro LR or the Dome. Is it for, so they make solutions for all sorts of applications, right? But one is boating. Guys put these on their boats, and then when they're offshore, they can select a bunch. Yeah, so the Dome, the LR means long range. 5G, Wi-Fi 6. How much is this thing? This thing's cool. Fit it anywhere, bond to any WAN. Use the Dome Wi-Fi as WAN support for leverage existing Wi-Fi networks from another source of connectivity. So you can reverse the wireless instead of a transmission. It can be an incoming, be a receive, and you can use that to bond. Let me look here and let's just see what options we have here. So this is the Dome here. It's kind of cool. But it has, does it come with this little, does it come with this little rig? What's included? All right, let's watch this real quick. I'm going to watch it on YouTube though, because Okay. That was cute. So it really is designed like it's watertight, right? But man, if you like mount this to the top of a car or something, that'd be pretty cool. Whoa, look at that. So what's included though in this little product? You know, sail away. Da, 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 da. Is there a spec sheet? Yeah, here we go. Deep dive supports static IP DHCP. So this is a WAN on the LAN side, DHCP server for LAN clients extended. So this could be your DHCP reservation. So it's your router. Load balancing gives you failover, session persistence, per session load distribution, multi algorithms for weighted enforced persistence, priority, overflow, least used. That's kind of cool. Fastest response time. VPN solutions is fine. That's not going to be applicable to me. NAT and IP forwarding, static routes, port forwarding. So what is the price of this thing? If I were just to, I'm sure it's not cheap, but that would basically be everything, right? So let's just Google it real quick. Peplink Dome Pro. Whoa. My caps lock is on here. Oh, okay. So it's $8,000. Looks like out the door. I want to see more pictures of like the insides of it. Because here it seems to imply that it needs here it seems to imply that it needs like a switch, like a Peplink switch. Dome Pro combines a router and integrated antennas within a single enclosure, ensuring that minimal cable loss, delivering optimal performance. Additionally, powering it up is made convenient with just a single cable. That is convenient. So PoE output, so there's another Ethernet port inside that can power a camera. Well, that's fascinating too, because you could mount a camera to your car, right? If you were so inclined. Using someone else's Wi-Fi as your WAN, it still lets you have your own private Wi-Fi network. The HD1 Dome Pro is probably all you need since you're not out at sea. It's the HD1 Dome Pro. HD1 Dome Pro. Whoops. Let's go ahead and search for that. Okay. One more time.
Here's the HD1 Dome Pro, the cellular router designed for outdoor deployments and aims to achieve minimal cable loss, so your deployments can experience the best signal quality. And here's why it's so pro. Now available in 5G, the Pro offers greater Wi-Fi options, Wi-Fi as WAN or Wi-Fi 6 access point, making it more adaptable and versatile for any outdoor deployment needs. Built to work hand in hand with your desired choice of SD-WAN solution, it's now compatible with any router that has PoE output. And to make sure it fits right in with your deployment environment, it's designed to offer a multitude of easy installation options. Easy to mount on a wall, on a pole, or simply connect your Ethernet cable. And if it wasn't easy enough, its compatibility with a SIM injector allows for managing up to 10 physical SIMs. So place your device where it can reach its peak potential with convenience and confidence without having to worry about its accessibility later. HD1 Dome Pro, the 5G cellular router for outdoor deployments. Available now.
Now that's a much more informative video, Peplink. Okay, this is cool. What's our price point? Excuse me.
Hey everyone,
What?
welcome back to our channel.
Goodbye. So if we're just going to Peplink HD1 Dome Pro. Oh, 23 or 2800. It's true. That is France. Get out of here. So then the conversation turns down into more like price and functionality. So if we're trying to find what's the difference between Dome Pro 1 and 2, there's apparently a second one. HD2 Dome Pro. No results on that one. Okay. Enterprise. All right. Yeah, so like a lot of their stuff they talk about like nautical stuff, right? So like people on boats or campers or moving around the country. So that's pretty cool. I kind of like the idea that you could like roll up next to a Panera and connect to their WAN if you needed to and eat your lunch in your camper while leeching off of their Wi-Fi. You know, you would buy your lunch from Panera so that you're not stealing necessarily. But yeah, that's pretty neat. Actually, I don't even have to do that anymore.
How neat is that? That's pretty neat.
So yeah, I'm very interested in Peplink, and I'm actually tempted to buy it myself for my own personal use. And I have a use case for this where I'm on the road a fair bit, but like I said, I live like an hour away, and my kids are constantly hotspotting my phone and doing stuff every time we're in the car. So it would be really helpful if I could talk to my service provider and get a decent data plan that's attached to my, phone plan for a few extra bucks, and then just let them connect to the truck wireless. Like if I had the antenna and the box installed in the truck and I just ran power to it, maybe then I could just let them plug in or let them connect to the Wi-Fi on the road. And especially because like I go on long trips, could really use decent wireless there. I take people along with me, wife and family, but also like I go camping in Northern Ontario, and there are lots of opportunities for this to make sense. But I think out the door, I'm looking at $600 for all the parts and pieces. And I'm a little bit torn about which antenna to get, because if I got like a dome antenna, you'd have to mount it outside somewhere. And if I got a paddle antenna, it'd have to be mounted on a window, but they're not as good, because they're not mounted outside, first of all. So there are mixed reviews about how effective a flat panel antenna is. But let me show you this purchase list real quick that I've kind of put together. So this is kind of the idea. I would get this is just for the freight case that I would make, but this Peplink router, the BR1 Mini, comes with 2 SIM card slots, but an eSIM as well. So you don't really need that. You just activate it on your account. This is that flat panel. This would be a 15 amp power splitter that I would mount onto the side of a Pelican case that would then allow me just to plug power directly into it when I'm using it. Might be super simple to just run that power cable that way. But part of this interest is I could take this unit that I build in a Pelican case with an antenna and put it in my wife's car, because my wife's car actually gets better gas mileage than my truck no surprise there. So if we're going on a really long distance trip up to Ohio to see her family, or maybe even if I'm driving to Ontario but not going camping, I would be taking her vehicle. And if that's the case, then we could just pull these items out and put them in her vehicle and not have to buy double of everything, right? So even if I bought 2 antennas at only $130 an antenna, I could Velcro them to a window, and that would be that. Like Velcro them to the back window, essentially. And then, just hook them up. Which means then that's what these little metal plates are for, because I would drill through and mount these little antenna mounts to the external of the Pelican case, and then just use these little jumpers to go from here to here. And then I've got like a hot swappable situation where I can just connect them and make it easy. So some screws and back plates, and then I'd need a Pelican case, which I actually have. I have a Pelican case here where I'm kind of tempted just to use. I usually use it for my Canon RP, but it might be time to get a bigger case for the Canon because my lenses are huge and they don't all fit. So it might be time to kind of swap it over and start using it in that instance. But kind of creating like a little Go pack and seeing how well it performs. The SIM injector is for when you travel with many countries, each needing their own SIMs. We use data-only SIMs that just charge for data, no monthly subscription, so we only pay for the data that we use. Since stadiums tend to have their own internet, we put ours in a Pelican case 1430 since it has a shoulder strap. Ooh, I'm going to Google that. Pelican 1430. Very cool. Oh, nice. Ooh, that's nice. We had a custom plate made with the cutouts that we wanted for $65. Careful with the SMA connections. They may need to be RP SMA. Good call. I'll check on those. This was just something I like threw together. I love big invisible stuff. So like an orange case, which is currently unavailable. I have orange cases. I don't know if you remember these, but I've got this one, which is my OG. This has a GoPro in it, a GoPro 3. And I'm probably going to end up switching it out for new foam and doing my Insta 360 stuff in this once I get an X5. So this is the original case. I've actually even I've had it so long that I broke the plastic buckles. So I've had to replace those. But this case is a 1200 and it is great. It works really well. Then the newer-ish case, which isn't that new, is this one, which is 1300. This is the one that I put my Canon RP into and some big lenses. And so I keep all my spares in here. I have a really big Samyang macro lens, which is what I do my night photography on. It's a super wide, not a fisheye, but it's a really nice piece of glass. I've had this thing out camping, and I do all my night photography with it, which I've shown on this show, and it does a really nice job. So this is the one that I normally put my camera in, but I'm kind of out of space. So those are my little travel cases that I use. Now I really do like this over the shoulder case. Let me jump over here. If you look at the product page for that antenna, the LTE connectors are SMA and the Wi-Fi connectors are RP SMA. Oh my goodness, good catch. Yeah, the Wi-Fi and cell antennas have the same size but reverse gender connectors and cables. Okay, so let's just open up a new page here. So one moment, please. This right here, new tab. And let's just take a little look here. Oh, you're right. The LTEs and the GPS are one way and the Wi-Fi ones are the opposite. Good call, everybody. Oh, look at you guys. Okay, so is that just though probably these are both females, and so can I right on both sides? Female, maybe I should just get female to male. Wouldn't that make sense? Maybe not. Because and then these are the cables I got, so I guess I got to make sure that I got the right ones of these two, right? Yeah, so these are the males. And then that's female to male. Okay, good call. So these ones, what I say, they're females, so we need male ones as well, which means I lower this to 2. And then female. Copy. Paste. Boom. Ooh, that's fun. But really, I just need the jacks. What did I call them? All right, well, I will find something of the same quality, and then I will buy the female cables as well. Good catch, everybody. So yeah, this Pelican case is really cool. The over the shoulder strap is a good idea. And then that would give you lots of space on the side, you know. I would like a more visible one, yellow or orange, because orange is kind of the color I go with. But, you know, I'm not married to it. I don't have to have that. I do really like having that strap, though, because it would fit nicely underneath my seat in my truck. And then it would be easy to hook up and get up and running quickly. Because then I could connect it to the fuse box that turns things on automatically. I have that already for a little GPS unit that I have. So that would be really cool. Hey, we've got your back. And that's why, you know, that's why it's great having you around. Nope, RP just means the pin is reversed compared to the normal connection. So, hey, you need to read these comments. There are other places to shop other than Amazon that might have the color in stock. That's true. You are correct. There are other places to shop. So let's just do that. Copy. Do they have a little wider one? Be kind of nice to have a little more space, but you know. All right, B&H looks like they got something. Top loader yellow. Buh. No, that's fine. That's big and visible. No longer available, though. That's a shame. Pelican, the official store for Pelican. There we go. $140. How do you sleep at night? Do I have that?
How do you sleep at night?
Also out of stock. No foam? Ooh, in stock. There you go. Only color is black. The protector. Ooh, that's cool. I don't see 1440, 1430. Is that what we were just looking at? Yeah. I don't see a strap on this one, but maybe it comes with one anyways. No foam. Boy, that does not really save you any money, eh? So connecting an SMA plug to the RP SMA jack will damage both of the connectors. Connecting the RP SMA plug to a SMA jack will just not make contact. Copy that. I think I'm tracking with you. Is this a protector case. Ooh, you get a flat briefcase though, laptop case. That might work. The problem is these Pelican cases are like half the price of the whole, the whole system I'm trying to build. Does Amazon Basics have a... Again, I don't have to necessarily have Pelican, although I really like them. I'm sure Amazon, if they had one, would be like, have you considered ours? What's this called here? It's like a waterproof case with shoulder strap. Whoops. I don't know if that's going to find... Yeah, that's going to give me like all sorts of crap. Waterproof hard case. Okay, so they make them for like drones. I do need it to be like, to be able to take a bit of a beating, which is why I like the Pelican idea. Because if my kid steps on it, it's not gonna crush the units inside or the intent of the connections or anything. The same RP scheme is available in BNC, TNC, and N connectors as well. Harbor Freight might have something. Oh man, it's been a long time since I've shopped at Harbor Freight. There used to be a Harbor Freight in Pontiac, Michigan, and I used to go in there with a buddy of mine, and we would literally go in there when we needed one tool for one job, and that's the only job it had to survive. If we got anything else out of it, it was considered bonus. But we didn't put a lot of faith. We didn't put a lot of faith in the tools that we bought at a Harbor Freight. Now, granted, we weren't spending very much money, so we weren't looking at like, I don't know, their nice stuff. It's probably changed, but still, it was. It's been a while since I've shopped at Harbor Freight. This is so weird. Is that toner? Epsom yellow toner? Why is that in there? What Pelican? Well, Pelican, you got to do better than that. Anyway, so that's kind of the idea. Is I'm trying to get to a place where I can kind of hook this up into my truck and have good cell coverage, or have additional cell coverage for internet on longer trips. Now that we live in the middle of the United States, we're always driving somewhere. Even weekly, we're driving. On average, we're driving 2 or 3 hours, and so it would be better. Oh yeah, and part of the reason for this is because when I connect to CarPlay, it disables the ability for the iPhone to hotspot. And so my kids, I have the unlimited data plan, and my kids were connecting to mine, and now they're connecting to my wife's, and they drain her data plan. So that's not good. That's not gonna work. Now, what did you say? You said RP. So let's just do RP. Oops. RP. I do want to try and find something similar to what it was that I had here, right? Like these, they have like a little like a little washer on there to help them make them waterproof, but these ones are female. And so I need something like this. These ones are female as well. Could you, in theory, never mind. That was a dumb question. Yeah, I'll have to find something. If I just do... female. That's in my list. Ooh. Nope, same ones. Basically. You might also want to look for a quick SMA connector / adapter. Let's do that. Quick. Whoops. So what options do we have here? Oh. It's male to female. They don't need to be screwed in, but they are a push-pull mechanism. Oh, that's fun. All right. Adapter. I'm assuming something like this then. This is to BNC. But now this would not work because on the ends of the antenna, right? Or do I need to get another adapter? So like, look. So these are all screw-ons from the antenna and then into the actual Peplink unit. Where is it here? Guess I don't have it open anymore. Into the actual Peplink unit on the back side. We got more pictures here. Yeah. All right. The BR1. 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 I think they're called a QMA. Yeah, an SMA to QMA adapter. Okay. So there are multiple versions of this BR1 Mini. And they all incrementally go up by $50 every time you go up a version. And so I really don't need like the highest. But check this out. The let's look at the back of this unit. Certainly they have a photo here. There we go. So you have your 3 main antennas, and then you've got your 2 Wi-Fi antennas, which are different. So that's what we've been talking about here, basically. So I need to be able to get an adapter for this. The issue is that the longer the adapters, right, you just want to go a few inches, because the longer the adapters, the worse your decibel ratings go down, basically. I put them in the end of my antenna cables. Okay, cool. Hey, John, if available, I would always use Nutric connectors. All right, we'll look at that in a second. I don't know anything about that. So you have your GPS, and then you've got your 2 cell phone transmit receive antenna connections, and then you have your Wi-Fi antennas. So we need to be sure that we get the correct, and maybe, well, anyways, we'll figure that out. But SMA to QMA is what we're looking for here. So SMA to QMA adapter. Whoops. To QMA adapters. Ooh. I put them on the end of my antenna cables. SMA. This is a different one. QMA female to SMA female. Well, these are interesting. I don't think that Nutric does antenna-related connections. Okay. We'll take a look here in a second. QMA to BNC. QMA female coax. So these are interesting. What is the QMA end? Is it these? I'm going to have to Google this a little bit more. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm all about like making this easy, you know, like easy every time I want to take it down and set it up again. I'm all about needing to make it easy. So no, not that I've ever seen about Nutrink antenna connections. Yeah, this is all like a new field, but if I could kind of get this sorted out for me. Oh, this is not the right thing, but that's UHF. If I could get this sorted out for me, then the deployment for when we go and we do stuff for Safe Harbor, I want to make that. I'm trying to make it as simple as I can so that in the future we could even deploy it without a technician, right? QMA is just quick release style of the SMA. Okay. You definitely don't need giant DIN to N adapters. Peplink HD4 comes with QMA, for example. HD4. All right, let's take a little look. Products. Enterprise, I guess, right? Yeah. Balance series, balance. All right, well, any of these will probably do. Why am I not seeing it here? Shouldn't there be a thing that says HD series? Burnt. Max HD. See? Why was that so hard? Ooh. RPSMAs. RPSMA. These are all just SMA connections. Oh, the MBX HD4. Oh. Oh boy. Creamer's getting curdled, folks. It's still warm, but ugh, not amazing. Nutrink has them. You need to pick the ones that have the correct resistance at 0 ohms, or for the ohms. Sorry, not 0 ohms. Upgrade to 5G. All right, that wasn't super helpful, but you know, it is what it is. Whoa, look at that. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, sorry, folks. I'll get back to the. I try not to ignore the comment section too long. Probably a little bit more than you need. Yeah, probably. But I'm all about just trying to figure out how to make this work simple. You know, the SMA to QMA. Let's change this to all departments. There we go. I was just looking in the wrong spot on Amazon. Female adapters, 50 ohms. How do I know which one to get? And then, okay, so you put, excuse me, I know you heard that. You put these on the ends of your devices, on the ends of your antennas, and then you need the other side, right, to connect these. So what is that? It's not quite self-explanatory. Package only contains one piece, but there's a photo of two. That's hilarious. Ooh. All right, let's do this. Antennas are usually 50 ohms, and video is usually 75. Interesting. That's good to know. So this screws on one end, and then this just bites in on the other. Is that what we're looking at? So then, yeah, okay. Okay. I think I get it. Male to female. So this is just a pass-through. Okay. Interesting. Let's just add this to cart real quick. And then go back. Male to female. Oh, wait. Is it the same thing? It is. It just has one, though. All right, we'll go back. And then, but then, so what do you do on the box? Do you just put, what was it that you called them? Page 2. RP, SMA. Oh, because one is male and one is female. Reversed, right? Okay. Whoa. I put the device side into a laser cut face plate on the Pelican with little pigtails. Peplink antenna and connector selection guide on Google, and you have a Peplink guide for it. Oh, there you go. See? Why didn't I think of that? Because Daniel's on it. That's why. Unless he's sending me on a wild goose chase just to see me do it. Ah, nope. It's real. Cool. Ooh, this is fun. Receiving. There we go. SMA female cellular on the router. RP SMA female on the Wi-Fi. Male cellular to female. Oh, that's weird. The female and the male are flipped? Oh. Ew. I hate that. Come on, people. Ah, here we go. QMA. Connectors are used for 5G MBX. QMA comes in two forms, male and female. So I would just need female QMAs that I could mount onto a plate on the box and then seal it up with like a watertight. Very cool. All right. Ah, thanks, Daniel. That clears up my confusion. Good work. So QMA female, let's just go here. QMA female. Yeah, reverse polarity. Note how the pins are reversed on the RP. Hey, welcome to the club. It's true. I want a... Oh. Yeah, I want like a box mountable, you know, like you said, with like little pigtails. I want to be able to obviously mount it to the box interface so that it's just I just plug them in as I go and off we go. Nice and simple. Female, previously viewed. These are all viewed. Now, but I'm sure there's something, you know, like I'm sure there's something out there that'll help me do this. QMA, female to SMA female adapter. One piece. $6 to deliver this thing? What on earth? What world do you live in? Okay. Ooh, these are those little quick release ones that you're talking about. It's kind of fun. But this, 3 feet pigtails, right? That back screw comes off, and then you could feed it through a box and then tighten it down, maybe put a little washer on there or something. And then that would give you that to this, which would then, these are your females. So that would be for your Wi-Fi antennas, I'm assuming. Nasty business. Like I said, RP SMA and SMA can interconnect, but will either not work or physically damage each other. Yikes. All right. Well, I'll be uber careful when I get going down this road. I think the key will be obviously to take this in baby steps and see what I like about this case and why I might just get a bigger case for my camera is the real estate on the side here. You know, like if I was to cut a hole out or drill holes through this and then put a metal plate on it and seal it with like a watertight sealer to return it back to its watertight state, then I can just buy a bigger case for my camera. But then this would probably be big enough for this little router unit that I want. And then on the other side, just mount that power, you know, drill a 2-inch hole, mount the power thing to it, put sealant around it, mount it on there. And then you've got power on one side, antennas on the other, and Bob's your uncle. But maybe not. Correct, into a mounting plate. Yes. Cool. And then you could just mount the plate, seal it up, drill it in, let it set. You'd be good. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's just to keep moisture out. It's not necessarily to throw it in the water or something. It's going to sit in my truck, but it's just to keep moisture out in case a window gets left open and water gets in the truck. Like, you know, I don't know. But I don't want it to damage anything. So, especially if you're going to invest $1,000 into it, then it would be great to have it kind of fixed. Mobile installations. Antenna on the roof. Here's another thing is I would love to get the antenna on the roof, but you'd have to drill through the truck to do that. So mounting it on the inside of the window seems to be the more logical idea. And if you really wanted it, you could attach Velcro strips to the back window of the truck and then just crack the back window and run the cables out the window and fix it to the back window. And then it would be outside, but out of the wind. And you'd probably get better reception, but your window would be open. So there's that. Wouldn't be the end of the world, of course, but still. Oh, here you go. This is what you guys are talking about right here. Extension cables. SMA male. This is what you need. They give you a shopping list? That's cool. SMA male to QMA, QMA to QMA, and then RP SMA male to QMA. Cool. Well, that's kind of nice. I didn't realize this was out there. So, where are we here? Those are not my units. Yeah, this is really cool, though. Like I said, I just want this to be more I just want this to be more of like, if I got to switch vehicles, it takes me 5 minutes. Like, it's not a huge ordeal. So I'd rather put the work in up front and then be able to just pull the Velcro, you know, off the antenna, pull the antenna off the window and put it on a different window and drive away. So yeah, it should be a fun little project. And if it works well enough, then I'll probably buy a second antenna and just have one antenna in each car and a little baggie to cover up the connectors while I'm not using that antenna. But then you just move the freight case over, you move the Pelican case over and plug it into power. Off you go. And then you've got power inside. Like when we were driving down to Tennessee to scout things out or whatever we were doing down here, I would set up for the kids in the back of my truck a little like screen. We had a portable screen, and then they're like little Nintendo Switch systems so they could play together on a bigger screen in the back of the truck. And I just ran it off of an inverter and it worked just fine. Like, screens don't take much power, so it wasn't a huge concern for me. But then they could play together and it worked all the way down, and you know, they play together pretty nicely anyways. So that worked really well to give them that option. So now if they have switches and they could connect to the internet, then they could play, they actually each have their own at this point. So they could just connect to the internet and then still play the same game with each other, or, you know, kids YouTube or something like that. They like to do all that too. All right. Well, this is a lot to think about, and I think Peplink is our answer for Safe Harbor. Now it's more of a matter of my own little personal project, because if that works really well, then I'll have full confidence that buying a bigger system, more robust antennas, all that stuff is going to work. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about that. But time will tell. You know, the whole project right now is, I could deselect all items, or maybe I'll just unselect the few items that I don't want. The whole project today is like $600, which really isn't that much. If I were to add these little connectors, oh, did I go off of that page? I'm an idiot. Here we go. So if I were to add these little pigtails, these are male to female. So this end is female So, all right, remind me again. I'm a little confused. Can I use these pigtails? Oh, I need the other versions of these, is what you're saying. Okay, copy. So let me go back to my unit, this guy, and look at the BR Mini. I think it's the BR1 Mini. Yeah. BR1 Mini. You need both kinds for cell and for Wi-Fi. Yes. Okay, so I've got 3. I will need 3 of these pigtails in this configuration. I will need 3 of these for the LTE and GPS. And then if I go back twice, and now these ones, oh, that's UHF. QMA. Sorry, let me just verify again. These ones are sticking out. So I need 3 footers, males. No. So stinking confusing. Let me look at these. So that's the male version. Needs this, and then this gets what? Somehow mounted. Confused. Yeah, that's frustrating. Oh, these are the RP ones though, right? So if we go to specs, go down to antennas. Where are we here? Come on. Hardware. Four pin. Nope, that's the power. Boy, why is this so humongous? Oh, because I made it bigger. Copy. Got it. This thing can take PoE. It's only 13 watts. That's impressive. Interfaces. No. Performance. No. So Wi-Fi is RP. LTE and GPS are regular. Thank you. All right. That's what I was going for. Now you know how most HR departments feel. Oh, that's funny. All right. So we go back. RP SMA. Ooh. RP SMA antennas, 6 inches to RP. Okay. Well, I will find this. I don't need to sit here mindlessly burning time looking for connectors. But whoa. Why is that cable 5 meters? My goodness. Hey-o. Pigtails. That's what I want to put in here. Yoink. RPSMA male to female pigtails. These ones. 5 meters of RG58 isn't a good thing at 2.4. Yeah, no. The shorter the better, right? I'm thinking these. Because these have the little screw-on thing. But then this side would connect to the, Wi-Fi antennas. So, these are the RPs. I need 2 of these. Oh, and they're $8. That's cheap. If I go back real quick, do they have... Here. SMA coax. These are regular ones. Right? Look at that. Isn't this what I need? SMA coax cable, female pigtails, 20 inches. Yeah. That's basically what I'm looking for. These ones, SMA jumpers, male to female pigtails. Yep, those are them. Okay. And then he has the QMAs on his antennas, so these stick out, and then he just pops makes all the sense in the world now. Jeez. Welcome back, folks. It's been 45 minutes of watching John be confused. Much appreciated, everybody that hung on. So I need 2 of these. Man, that's a lot easier. So then if we go to the cart, and we can get rid of these males, and we're going to need something like this, but we're going to save those for later. And we're going to save this for later, and this, and this. All right. So now we're going to get rid of... Oops, I'm not going to share that. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to delete these because we don't need those pigtails anymore. Okay. So these ones... All right, so now we're under $600 because I got rid of that other crap that I didn't need. And even these metal plates are probably overkill, but for $8, whatever. But in this instance, I could actually drill 2 holes, and I could do Wi-Fi antennas on one, or even 3 holes, because I got to have 8 of these plates. And I could do GPS, LTE, and Wi-Fi, and just organize it really nicely. Okay. And then on the other side, you have these things, which are the quick connects for... Let's look at this one real quick. Oh, the mail has arrived. Female to male. Female RP to male. And then these are SMA, female to male. Male to oh my gosh. I'm thinking it's these ones, though, that slide over the top like that. Yeah. So this is what's going to drive this price up. Is this a 2-pack of these? No, 1 piece. Burnt. But then, yes, so then on the end of the antenna, you screw these on. That's really nice. I would get the pigtails with SMA on one end and QMA on the other. Okay. The problem is these are a lot less expensive. These I'm not going to be changing. The pigtails are going inside the Pelican. And so once I screw these on once, they never come off. So I don't think I need the quick connects for those. What I need the quick connects for is the end of the antenna, because that's the thing I'm going to be pulling off and on again as I'm changing cars, because I'm going to need to take them apart, take the case out, take the antenna off, put the antenna up, put the case in, make the connections, and onward I go. So I need these guys on the ends of the antenna lines. So here is this guy. I need 2 of these and 3 of these, I believe. This is, oh, hang on. I did that wrong. Oh, yeah, because these are the SMAs. And then this is the RPs, right? Yeah. So the QMA connectors have to mate with other QMA connectors. They don't mate. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I see. So that would make more sense. So in this instance, I need female to male, but I need it to say female to QMA. Oh, wait. Oh, whoops. Okay. So whatever is sticking out of the Pelican case also needs to be QMA. Got it. SMA to SMA. So I'm back to at least screwing them on for the time being. All right. Inside the Pelican doesn't really matter. Yeah. SMA to QMA pigtail. Oh, that's not a pigtail. How come it's ignoring the phrase pigtail? Okay, so this is the thing that's sticking out that you're talking about. Inside doesn't matter too much. This is SMA male angled, which isn't necessary in my instance. But your search string is 20 miles long. Try RP SMA to RP QMA. Yeah, so it keeps leading me to these adapters, but not to actually the cable that I necessarily am looking for. All right, well, this is clearly something I have to do more research on. V Cable Mart. Ah, there's the QMA mail. Length, select, yada, yada, yada. I was referring back to your very long Amazon search. Oh. Well, I could put this in here. RP to RP. Ooh, we might be getting some rain here. Okay, well, eBay can be a good source for these. Oh, really? Always hesitate to go over to eBay, but maybe I need to give it a better shot. Oh yeah, QMA mail angled. I just need it to be straight, guys. QMA mail to RP SMA females. All right. Well, I will, like I said, I need to settle in and like really research this stuff because I'm very intrigued. And also I need to figure it out. So I had no idea these connectors existed before today. And now I do. And it was a good catch that I needed to, there are two different types of connectors on those Peplink antennas. They're RP and just the straight SMA versions. And yeah, that would have been frustrating to get all that gear here for $600 and then find out I didn't have the right cables. So good catch there. I have a local electronics shop that makes me custom cables when I need them. Yeah, I should probably like start figuring that out too around here. It sounds like I'm going to need some help, but I mean, I need a lot of help, but that's why I have this show. So it's to help you, but also to help me, mostly me. So yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. It is almost 12 o'clock, so I need to wrap it up and get sorted on what else I need to get done. This week is coming quick, and the weekend, and my crew is back from Scotland, so they've been gone for 2 weeks. We had 2 pre-recorded services. And I worked really hard to get everything done really before they left. And so I had a couple of weeks to kind of take care of some other things in this house and projects I've been working on. And now it's back to regular scheduled program. So hopefully we can get back into a routine, but also plan to do some cool stuff. Next week, we're going to talk about Blackmagic Cloud. And in particular, I'm going to talk about the way that I have our cloud rig set up. On Sunday, it will be our first chance to stream to our new ATEM SDI ISO Extreme, and I need to get one more. Connection, SDI connection, but we're going to be recording 6 paths of video, and then sending them across the internet to my house here via Blackmagic Cloud / Dropbox. So. Pretty excited about that, and I will go through how that path works, but I want to try it once. So that's what we're going to do on Sunday. I'm going to hit record and then also run a backup record just in case. But yes, we're going to hit record, and then I'm going to see how that data transfer goes, whether it takes me 11 billion hours or if we're good otherwise. So here's hoping. It'll be a big test on Sunday, and there's nothing on the line. There's nothing I'm going to lose. I'm just trying to gain something, and it might take some finessing to make it really work. But the Blackmagic Cloud stuff is sitting here ready to go. I have tested it once with video files that I had over there a couple of weeks ago. They came across just fine. Took a little time, but no big deal. These video files that we're about to make are going to be humongous. So that is That's going to be the plan. But anyways, looking forward to that. And next week, I'll tell you how it goes. So be sure you hang out with us next week and see how successful or vice versa I am. But we're trying to make it almost turnkey where very little has to be done. Because right now, and that reminds me, right now I have to take SD cards home and bring them here to get the full files. So this is in an effort to record all that stuff locally and send it all the way over here, 45 minutes away, over the cloud. And hopefully it can be all done on Sunday. And then on Monday when I'm here to edit, it's all ready to go. So I'm looking forward to that. I make most of my own RF cables. Well. Look at you. No, I'm kidding. Always a pleasure, Angus. Thank you so much for hanging out today. And thanks for imparting some wisdom into this show so that I have a direction to go, because it's not a lot of fun to think you have a plan and then find out after you've bought everything that the plan doesn't work. So always appreciate your input. I always have fun seeing someone else have the 3 same problems as me. Yep, you're welcome. Also, I'm hoping in a future show I might be able to test some Dante stuff. So fingers crossed, that might be on the horizon. I'm talking with some guys to maybe get some equipment that they've developed and maybe give that a try. So who knows? Don't know how quickly that will come around, but one of these days. I'm also in the middle of a garage build. Not in the middle. I'm at the beginning of a garage build, and I'm getting quotes. So once that gets underway, I'm hoping that's going to be end of summer. That will be done, and then I have to build a office and a studio. So this whole rig is going to move and change, and I'm going to have a home, which will be really nice. And the bonus room will return then to the bonus room, so that'll be cool. But those are big projects that are up in the air and on the horizon and kind of expensive. I'm a little bit nervous about that. But, we'll steady on. We'll keep going. And then I'll keep you informed as to how those projects develop. So I'm hoping to kind of get the project thing sorted out ASAP, because I need to get on with it. So I'm aging quickly, and I don't have forever. So there we go. It needs to happen. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. Always appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with me today. It's always a pleasure. And hopefully you had fun fumbling through Peplink, trying to figure out what the future holds. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a great solution for us. I'm excited to try it out myself and give it a go. And I might just end up having to buy this equipment, and then maybe we'll do another show on it. So I'm really tempted to do that. But anyway, more on that soon. Take care of yourselves, everybody. I really appreciate you. Have enjoyed being with you today, and we'll see you next week. So take care. See you guys.